Hello everyone, welcome to this next video. So you saw my last video which was all about how to create flashcards. This one's all about how to do the actual memorization of flashcards. So this is the hard part. Often when we speak to students they say, I've revised. I created my flashcards. But that is not revising, that's not memorising. So I'm going to take you through how you can try and do that a bit more effectively to ensure this stuff sticks. So 3 methods for you. We're going to be using exactly the same flashcards which we created before, just to kind of keep it nice and easy. We're going to look at these methods: cover, write out and check, the use of instruction cards, and speed planning of exam questions. That's going to be what we're going to try and work. So we'll see how it goes anyway. Right, first one, cover, write out and check. This one's pretty easy. It's just a case of taking a flashcard. Here we go. What was the name of Germany's foreign policy? And then all you would do, Weltpolitik. Did I get that one correct? Yes, I did. Lovely, fantastic. I maybe missed out that detail. So actually, we could add that down, expanding empire and armed forces. Okay, so great. What I'm going to do now is cover that, can't see it, and then I might test myself on like 10 other flashcards, might come back to that one. This time, can I write it all out fully? Let's see. Weltpolitik. And what was it? It was expanding empire and armed forces. Okay, have I got it right now? Yes, 100%. So there we go, that's looking much better. So that's hopefully in my head. Now, lots of people don't like the whole kind of write out thing. They kind of tend to skip that and instead they go for, well, can I just get somebody to test me? You can do, that's absolutely fine. If you want to, that's no problem whatsoever. But I always like the actual writing out because ultimately that is what you're going to be doing in the actual test, in the actual exam, and I always think it's best to try and practice that if you can. Okay, let's just go back. So that is the simplest one: cover, write out and check, and that's the key bit, is check what's missing. And you saw me there writing it, adding it in, and then having another go at it later on to see if I've got it. Okay. Right, going to introduce another new one to you here, which is instruction cards. So let me talk you through how instruction cards work. We saw this on a blog and thought it was quite nice actually. And it comes from the learning scientist, whose website is well worth a check out actually. So this is trying to use your flashcards in a different sort of way, rather than just kind of checking the detail. It's far more powerful for your memory if you can do something different with them and elaborate. And this is where instruction cards come in. Hopefully these are all going to fit on here. So these were the instruction cards we created, these were the cards we created earlier. And I've created some instruction cards. And these are just kind of pretty generic, like sketch it, what was important about this event, create an exam question which might require this. And what you might do is you might shuffle these up, and then see which ones come out. I'm just going to make this up. Let's chuck that one to there. Let's chuck this one to that woman, and create an exam question which might require it, right? And you could write this out on the side of a piece of paper. That would probably be the best way of doing it, and then checking against. But what we're doing here is we're not looking at what the other side of the flashcard is, we're not looking at our answer. So we're trying to think about what the answer is, but trying to use it in a different way. And that's exactly what you're doing in an exam situation. You're being given a question and you're being asked to use that knowledge in a novel, new way effectively. So that's what we're doing here. So how did the first Moroccan crisis become a crisis? Well, what would relate to that? What was important about it? The whole crisis itself created tension between the major powers of Germany on one side and Britain and France on the other, and as a result of that it would lay the ground for the next Moroccan crisis, helped to solidify the alliances as well. So that's like a nice way I can potentially use that in a different sort of way. It could also be a good one there to kind of test what's genuinely on the card as well, and trying to think that through. So can I apply the actual phases of the crisis there? Well, if we think about the first phase of the crisis, Germany was really kind of getting involved in an area which was very much seen as France's influence, so imperialism clashing. You can see I'm bringing in different ideas which we might have looked at just by thinking about it in that novel way. It's just not simply writing it out. When did Kaiser Wilhelm become leader of Germany and sketch it? I don't know, you might just end up with the 1888 and the Kaiser's head. It doesn't work as well, that one. And you can see it's not always going to work perfectly, but it's still trying to come up with, use things in a different way. It might even have been better if it ended up something like that, actually. And sketching out the phases of the crisis, that would have been quite a nice way of doing this. What was the last one? What was the name of Germany's foreign policy, and create an exam question which might require it? So, Weltpolitik, and in my head, it might be something about what caused the First World War. It might be simply that. Did Germany's foreign policy, was that the key cause of the First World War? That's exactly the sort. I know that's this for those who do the AQA course. It's very slightly differently, but it's a similar sort of thing. So there we go. That's great. That's about using that in a different way. It's about sort of elaboration. So that's quite nice in itself. The last one is speed planning exam questions. So this is what I think is so effective. If you've got a list of practice questions, and at Charter we certainly do, you can find them on Microsoft Teams, and you can kind of have a look through that list of questions and see if there's anything which might relate. So for that one of, I don't know, what was that last one? What was the name of Germany's foreign policy, Weltpolitik? Is there anything which relates to that period of time? You might go back through and think, okay, right, I'm going to just plan that answer out as quickly as I possibly can, 5 minutes, and then go back through your flashcards. Was there anything you could have potentially added which you missed? And that's kind of a really good test, actually. I almost use that as like the final stage. Once you've got your flashcards, or, you know, we're using flashcards here as an example, but your mind map, you feel confident with it, then you go and practice questions and you speed plan. And the reason for that is, again, it's practicing what you're actually going to be doing in the real thing, in the real test. But again, this isn't going to work if you do this. Let's say the test is 1 month before, or, you know, we're working on this kind of timetable. It could be 1 week before the test, or whatever it might be. If at this stage you create your flashcards, and then 1 day later you, I don't know, do the cover write out and check, and maybe you do the instruction cards things, and then you put them away, you're never going to remember them in time for the test. And this is the crucial thing. To memorise things effectively, you need to revisit them and rehearse, yeah? So let's say it's 1 month before. What you might do is you might actually create your cards. Brilliant, got those done. And you might do, let's say, a bit of cover, write out and check, yeah? And then I'm mixing it up. Maybe 1 week before the test, I'm doing some instruction card stuff. And that will really help me in terms of, yeah, what have I missed? And if there is anything, I might do a bit more cover, write out and check to have a play with that. And then 1 day before, I might do a bit of speed planning of exam questions. And again, is my knowledge confident enough? If I don't feel confident enough, am I going to go back to a bit more cover, write, out and check, or a bit more instruction card work? And you know, there might be periods in between here as well. So where again, you're just getting out of the cards, and it doesn't need to be a lot. It could just be about 20 minutes. It could be, you know, what we haven't spoken about here is getting someone else to test you, somebody at home or whatever it might be. But that's a crucial thing. Lots of little kind of build-ups to this. And if a homework is set for you to revise for a test, you really shouldn't see it as just creating flashcards or creating a mind map. It's got to be doing something effective with it. Otherwise, it's not really pointless, and it's not getting into the right routines. To learn effectively, you've got to practice those routines and do it across your subjects, history just being one of them. So I hope that's useful. Again, those key pointers, definitely use kind of the classic cover, write, out and check. Try and use different ways of kind of using the knowledge, so elaborating with it. Those instruction cards might be a good option. Speed planning, exam questions again, using them in an exam style. Really crucial takeaway, practice small little bursts. But the most important thing, definitely, don't just think flashcards is about creating them. Oh, and final thing, once you're done with this and you've done your tests and you know you've done brilliantly well in it, make sure that you've got somewhere safe for these. All right, they will be needed for your exams. So put them away. You know, particularly with these instruction cards, don't chuck those. You can use those later on when you're with your next set of cards you create. But put these away somewhere safe. Have a box of them. Could be a shoe box. Could be whatever. And make sure you're keeping hold of them, because they are brilliant and you don't want them to get lost. It will just mean that later on down the line, you know, it could be a year's time, 2 years time for the actual GCSEs, that you know you don't have to recreate them all there, and it feels great. You've got all these lovely flashcards. So there we go. Hope that helps. That's a little guide to memorising, and yeah, bye.